Hi everyone. I want to go over the syllabus and some of the details about the course and along the way show you a few things within Blackboard. When you first start the Blackboard up and go into this course, this is the page you will, I'm planning to have you get started in. This is the page that will open up in the course module page over here. On the left side, you have a menu of some other options here, and so we're here in the course module page. You can see other things by directly clicking on them, and some of these might change as the semester goes on. So keep an eye over there on that panel. But I want to show you the syllabus today and talk a little bit about my expectations for the course and what you're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing together. By now, perhaps you've already watched this quick little brief welcome message here, and as this message says, my goal is that we will essentially work our way down this course module page, one item at a time here. So after doing the things in the introduction section here, and after you learn more about the research requirement that I'm going to have a few things to say about today as well, you'll get started here in the first chapter and then move on to the second chapter and the third. And after we're done with the third chapter, we'll have our first exam, and that will appear in this folder here. We'll proceed down to the fourth, fifth, and sixth chapters and eventually have our second exam, and it will be found in here, and so on. And culminating in the final exam during finals week. Okay, so the syllabus, there's plenty of places to find the syllabus. There's a link to it directly over here in the menu. I'm going to take you into the introductions folder first, and you have a table of contents here for this and other items in the course modules, and essentially, we'll work our way down through them. So ideally you would work sequentially through them, but of course you can jump back and forth between items. So the very first thing I would like you to do, if you haven't already, is there's a course greeting here, and perhaps you have, I'd like you to watch that if you haven't already. And that's part of the introductions. Then I wanted you to tell us all a little bit about yourself, so check that out if you haven't already. And one second, I need to get my phone. All right, in the course syllabus area here, then just click on this to open up the syllabus, and it will open up as a PDF file. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to read this entire thing or go through the entire thing. It's 10 or 11 pages long, so get started reading. At the top here, there's some information about me and where I'm found physically, where my office location is, my phone number, and my email address. Make note of this email address, please. This is the one that I want you to use. Anytime you need to contact me by email, please use this hpu.edu address. Note that it doesn't have the my.hpu part that student addresses have. So bmetcalf@hpu.edu. There's email within the Blackboard site, but I'd rather have you use this one. This one goes directly to me. I don't need to be in Blackboard to get this email. It'll come live to me. All right, there's my phone number if you would like to call. If you're local, if you're on island this semester at any point, I do hope we'll meet. Please do stop by. I'd like to get to know you. Okay. The course, you're in the course already right now, but you can reach it directly however you got there. The most direct way to get there is with this link, hpu.blackboard.com. You can also, of course, get through there via pipeline, and that's not a bad idea to go through that route, but this is the most direct way to get straight into Blackboard. There's information about the course and the description and any prerequisites that I trust by now that you've looked into and have met. Let's start with the book. This is the textbook that we're going to be using. Got it right here. Psychology, A Concise Introduction by Richard Griggs. I want you to notice something right off the bat. The nice, small, compact size of this textbook. I don't think I have one necessarily handy right here, but I'll just grab, this is not an introduction to psychology textbook, but this is a more likely size, a more typical size used by professors who teach introduction to psychology. Okay, which one would you rather be required to read, to carry around, and to purchase? Maybe $150 to $200. I'm not. You are. If you buy this at our bookstore, it's only about $50, which is a lot of coin, but substantially less than most textbooks cost. So I purposely picked one out that is a lot friendly to read, to use, to carry around. No sharp corners. You drop this on your foot, you'll still be able to walk. So if you haven't already gotten it, please get it. Of course, you can pick it up or order it from our bookstore website. You can purchase it loads of places online, like Amazon. My favorite bookstore online is called half.com. Wherever, if you're going to order it online, just make sure that you get a fairly speedy delivery so that you can get started. You need to have the book starting right now. Okay, so there's the information about the textbook, and if you have any trouble getting it at our bookstore, there's contact information for who you can call and who you can email. If you do have any trouble getting it there, please let me know too. I'd like to know if the drop me an email or give me a call if the bookstore doesn't have it or if it's delayed for any reason. I don't expect it to be, but I'd like to know. Okay, the syllabus goes on with loads of things like course objectives and goals and learning outcomes, several pages. You can skim through this if you'd like to know more about what our expectations are for this course, what your expectations should be. Okay, so it goes on and on. We have lots of goals for this course, lots of objectives. Okay, now I am much more frequently teaching in person in class than online like this, and so my syllabus has largely has evolved from the days of teaching in classes. So I apologize ahead of time for some of the wording of the syllabus is as if this was an in-class class. I plan to teach it as much as possible like I do in class, but of course there will be differences. So there's an attendance policy here. Now, of course, I'm not keeping attendance. We don't have attendance set times that we're supposed to meet. We're not going to have a chat session, by the way. When you registered, it probably said something about a chat day and time. I'm not planning on having a live chat ever. So that's not something you need to schedule or worry about. So disregard when you registered, what it might have said about a day and a time for chatting. Okay, so. You will be able to log on whenever you wish, but I'm expecting that you do so on an at least weekly basis, if not far more often than weekly. We will have things due on a weekly basis. Okay, so I do have the ability within Blackboard to see when you're logged in, how much time you've spent on things. It's a little bit Big Brother, this Blackboard system. I just want you to be aware of that. If you're not logging in, I'll know it. And I can look and I can see how much time you've been logged in and how much time you've spent on things and so on. So just be aware of that. Anyway, I don't have an attendance policy as far as points and penalties go. But indirectly, it has a direct bearing on your grade. If you're not logging in, if you're not doing the things well, you know how that will go. As far as class behavior and etiquette goes, when we do have discussions on things, I insist that you're polite, be kind, don't be rude to anybody else. I don't want it towards me, but much more importantly, if you're commenting on anything else that anybody else is discussing about anything, you must be adult in your behavior here. Okay, I will not tolerate any kind of flaming or attacks on anybody's opinions or ideas. Okay, so be aware of that. Okay, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? What is your grade going to be based on in this course? We will have some quizzes and exams. That's going to be the predominant thing affecting your grade. Okay, so there will be near weekly quizzes. In fact, there will be one for each chapter. The textbook has 10 chapters in it, so we'll have 10 quizzes. I call them, from my in-person class days, I call them take-home quizzes. Because the students would take them home, do them, and turn them back in. So you'll be able to do them, of course, from home or wherever you're logging in and doing this course. So there will be quizzes here, and I'll show you a little later where there will be within Blackboard. And the quizzes are going to be probably, almost certainly, exclusively from the textbook. There will be questions from the test bank for this textbook. So there will be 20 multiple choice questions, and they will have a due date. We'll get going on a pace of about a chapter a week. So 10 chapters, 10 weeks, plus the weeks that we'll be having exams, we won't be having quizzes. So 10 chapters, 4 exams, that's 14 weeks. So about a chapter a week is the pace we'll be clipping along at. Okay. Now here's how the quizzes will work. You'll log in. You'll have the 20 multiple choice questions. I'm not going to time that. You can take as much time. You can quit and save your work and come back and resume. Anyway, you'll have as much time as you want to work on a quiz. And then you'll submit it to, there's a button you can save, and then you can submit. It's important that when you want to submit it, you have to hit submit. Saving it will just save it for you to come back and look at if you want to resume. But to turn it in, you must hit the submit button. Okay. You will get feedback on the first time you take the quiz. The only feedback you'll get is what grade you got. Maybe you might say you got 80%. You missed 4 questions out of 20, and that's all it will tell you. It won't tell you which ones you got wrong or what their right answers are. So I don't tell you that because you have an opportunity to take the quiz a second time if you wish. Now you can turn around and take it right away, but I don't encourage that. Ideally, I'd like you to go back and study a little bit more, and then take the quiz, try taking it a second time. And you'll get the same questions. They might be in a different order, but you'll get the same set of questions, and you'll have an opportunity to take a second whack at it. After you've taken it the second time, the grade book will record the highest of the 2 grades. So rest assured, you can't do worse than you did the first time. Okay, if you do worse, it's going to count the first one as the better. It's going to take whatever the best score is and record that as your grade for the quiz. After the deadline for doing them, then I will free up the quiz so that you could come back to it and then see what the answers are if you missed any. So if a quiz is due by 5 p.m. on a certain day, shortly after that I will change the settings so that you can go back in and see your answers and see how you did, and see which items you got wrong, if you still have any wrong, and what the correct answers are. Okay? Now, a few more things to say about the quizzes are that they're not, my goal for the quizzes is not really to quiz you. It's not really to evaluate how much you know. It's take home. It's, you can sit there with the book. You can take as much time. So why wouldn't, and they're questions straight from the book. So why wouldn't you be able to get all of them right? Okay. So why do I want you to do the quizzes? My real purpose for the quiz is to distribute your studying, to make sure that you're coming in and doing a little bit at least every week, and to give you a sense for how well you know the material. So let me tell you how ideally I'm hoping that you'll do each chapter. So if I was starting chapter 4 on learning, this is ideally what I'd like you to do. The week that we're going to be covering learning, I want you to leave yourself enough time to give the chapter what I call a magazine reading. What do I mean by a magazine reading? You know how you read magazines. You read a magazine not to study it, not to memorize it, not to learn it, not to be quizzed and tested on it. It's for enjoyment. You picked up the magazine, hopefully, probably because you're interested in the topic. You read the things that interest you. You skip the things that are not terribly interesting looking to you. You read them something like this. It looks like this when you're flipping through a magazine. You flip through the pages and something catches your eye and you look at that and you read that a little bit more carefully. So that's what I'd like you to do the first time you cover the chapter. I'd like you to kind of skim it. I'd like you to give it this so-called magazine reading, okay? Doing it a little bit more carefully and thoughtfully than I'm flipping through it right now. But give yourself enough time to do it in that sort of more enjoyable sort of way. Like you read a magazine, you read it for enjoyment, not for the stress of having to memorize it for an exam, okay? So allow that to capture your interest. You'll be more, your mind will be more absorbing of the things that you're truly interested in. So if you're reading it and you're interested, and this is psychology for God's sake, you're going to be interested in it. This is going to be your favorite textbook this semester, I promise you. Everybody likes psychology. It's about us. It's about me. We're all narcissists. We all like ourselves. It's about learning how we behave, how we think. Why do I do the things I do? Why do other people do the things they do? Okay, you're going to be interested in it. We all like psychology. So you like it a lot less, though, when you have to read it because you're stressed for an exam. So give yourself enough time to give it an enjoyable kind of reading the first time. Then then stop. Then come back to it another day, another time, ideally. And then read it to study, like you hopefully have learned to study and for remembering details. Okay, so give it a careful reading, doing the strategies that I might outline another time. I'm not going to talk about my study tips right now. Okay, so read it as if you are going to have an in-class, traditional kind of exam. Okay, like you have a quiz to get ready to take. So when it's time to take the quiz, ideally put this aside and open up the quiz and try to answer the questions without cheating, without having to go back and look. Now, before you hit the submit button, by all means, feel free to go and confirm your answers. That would be, of course, the smart, wise thing to do. Okay, so anyway, you would be taking the quiz as if it's a quiz and not, to find out how much you know the material. So I'm not going to be impressed with high scores. Why would I be? 20 questions straight out of the book that you have all the time in the, you have a whole week of time to do it. You should get a high score in it. Okay? Now, let me tell you the other way that you can do it, and I'm not recommending this way. I call it the scavenger hunt method, where you don't read the chapter. You wait to see the quiz questions. You open up the quiz, you see what the questions are, and you go looking for the section that seems like it's probably got the answer to it, and you find the sentences or whatever that answer the question, and you hit the correct answer and move on to the next question and do the scavenger hunt and find the likeliest place where it's answered and read just enough to find the answer and answer it. Okay, you could do it that way, and you might get 20 out of 20 questions correct. But you and I know that that's not the way to do it, okay? The scavenger hunt method. Okay, you're likeliest to do that when you're pressed for time. You realize, oh my God, the quiz is due. It's it's going to be turned off 1 hour from now. Oh my God, I haven't started yet. Don't let yourself get to that point. You'll be forced to do this scavenger hunt method that way, and that's not going to prepare you for the exams. So trust me, the exams will be different. The exam is in a regular traditional class, you'd have to come in and you'd have the class period to take the exam. You wouldn't have your book or notes or anything like that in front of you, no internet, no anything. Just you and your mind, your brain, your memory. It's a little bit different for an online course, okay? We're not going to send you to a testing center to take to proctor the exam, to have people watch you so that you don't have books and notes and things like that. I can't control that. But the way around that is that the exams themselves will be timed. Okay, I haven't yet finalized how much time you will have, but you will have they will be timed, except for maybe parts. If I opt to have you write short answers to things, then you would type those up and submit those. And frankly, you could spend all the time you would probably need on those. But anyway, the exams will probably almost certainly be timed, and so that doesn't give you, and it will be purposely timed so that you don't have enough time to go find and read the answers for the very first time you ever encountering them. Okay, so if you do that first method that I was explaining, leisurely reading and then studying and taking the quizzes as if they're really quizzes, that will optimally prepare you for the exams. So that's a strong recommendation. Okay, so we're going to have 10 quizzes and 4 exams. And each one of them is going to be worth 25% of your grade. Now that's 5 things worth 25% of your grade. I went into psychology partly because I had a fear of math, and ironically I teach statistics now. But anyway, even I know that 5 times 25% is that doesn't add up to 100%. So the sweetest deal of all is this: at the end of the semester, I'm going to drop one of the 5 things, the lowest of the 5 things. So if you struggled on the first exam and that was your lowest score, that will get dropped, and I'll only record your 3 exams and your quiz average. Okay? So those take-home quizzes are potentially worth 25% of your grade. It behooves you to work hard on those to make sure that you keep a high percentage going on that. That will be a little tedious. That requires weekly care and diligence. You will have to come in and take that quiz. If you miss a quiz, the quiz is gone, and that will, a 0 on a quiz is going to significantly drop you can drop with 10 quizzes, missing one altogether, having a 0 on it will drop your quiz average to a full 10%. So keep your quiz average up. I fully expect that nobody will be dropping the quizzes as their lowest thing. That would be foolhardy. Okay, so leave the thing to be dropped, one of the 4 exams, and ideally you'll all be dropping the 4th exam, the final exam, during finals week, when all your other 4, 5, 6, however many courses you're taking, when they all have their finals and final projects due. Wouldn't it be marvelous to not have to take my final exam at all? You can't do worse than a 0 on it. So if that 4th, if you already have a high quiz average and you have the first 3 exams, you already have a high grade with your first 3 exams and your quiz, who needs the final exam? You might not even need to take it. That's my goal, that's my hope, that's my wish for all of you, that you don't even have to take the final exam because you already have the grade you need and can throw out that as your lowest item. Okay? So, hit me up if you have any questions about these expectations and these grade components, okay? So, there is one other very important item that you will be doing. We have a requirement called the Research Participation Experience requirement, okay? And elsewhere, I'll show you in a moment, elsewhere I have a document and a video like this explaining that in more detail. So I'm not going to say much about it here. You have this requirement you must fulfill in one of the ways that I specify in that document, in that video. If you have to earn 4 credits. You have to earn 4 what we call credits, 4 half-hour credits. And for each one that if you're missing any of them, each one that you're missing is going to result in a 2.5% deduction in your course grade. If you didn't do any of the 4, you'd have a full 10% deducted from your grade. So this item is not something that will be graded, but if you don't do it, it will be detracted from your score. So go explore that and find out what that is, and start making plans to fulfill that requirement. Okay? I'm not going to cover everything in the syllabus here, so I do expect you to read this, okay? So there's more about expectations and so on. Here's our tentatively weekly schedule, and we'll do our best to adhere to that schedule, and you will be made aware of when quizzes and exams are due. The due dates will be posted very prominently as you proceed through the folders sequentially in the modules, okay? The site will record your grade, so you perhaps don't need this as much, but here's a page on the syllabus where you could be entering in what you got on each item, and you can keep track of what your grade is along the way. I will be using the university's plus-minus system for grades as determined by this chart here. So your final course percentage will be will determine which letter grade you get, A minus, B plus, and so on. Okay. All of this is subject to possible change, and you will be made aware of any changes that that might be occurring. Okay, so there's a picture of me, and if you're wondering why it's upside down, you should flip your laptop over, or your iPad, or your desktop monitor, or stand on your head, and you can try to determine why that looks like a relatively normal picture of me right side up, but well, when it's upside down, but when you turn it right side up, what in the world is going wrong there? We'll have more to say about faces throughout the semester. Faces are very important to us. We've evolved a visual system that has determined that faces are very important for a lot of things. We're going to have a lot to say about faces. So there's your first face feature that you can learn something about here. Very brave of me to post that once you look at that upside down. Okay, here's some other information about the university's 5 themes and where this course fits in it. There was some other stuff earlier in the syllabus about how this is fulfilling that research and epistemology component of your general education. And here's more university information. A word about our behavioral counseling and behavioral health services here at HPU. So take a look at that. Very interesting, useful resource available to you there. Okay, people studying psychology should certainly be aware of our counseling and behavioral health services here at HPU. They're fantastic, fantastic people. Okay. More about purchasing textbooks and where I like to buy them when I don't buy them at our bookstore. A little bit more about me if you're interested. A little bit about my philosophy of teaching. Here's some of the characters that we're going to meet this semester. So some faces, some people, some animals that by the end of the semester you'll probably know all these people and why they're here. What interesting, fascinating things are we going to learn from these folks? Okay. Some more about my expectations and contemplations, and this is kind of mostly for fun, but take a look at that. Okay, and then some university policies about academic honesty and breaches of that, which I'm certainly hoping won't apply to you, but there they are. You should take a peek at those. Okay, so that's the course syllabus, and you are going to read that on your own. Yes. Now, popping back to the page, the next thing in this in our introduction folder here is your first weekly assignments, and the first item is a syllabus quiz. After you read that syllabus, listen to this introduction to it, I want you to take this quiz, and so you'll go into the next folder here, and you'll there's a set of questions I want you to answer and submit about the syllabus, my way to verify that you have read this important document. Okay. The next assignment is a book preview assignment, and both of these are going to be due this first week, by the end of this first week. So the syllabus quiz, you'll be able to open that thing up. It's a document, and you can open it up. It's a Word document, and you can type your answers right there below the questions, and then save yours and submit it. If you must, you can type them in this box here, but I hope you'll find it much easier to use the syllabus quiz document. It'll open up in Word, and then you can browse for that file, and after you save it and then submit it, and you'll submit it directly to me via Blackboard. Okay, you can save it as a draft, and when you're ready, just like with the quizzes I was describing earlier, when you're ready, click submit. Okay, so that you'll do that for the syllabus quiz, and then your very next item will be to do the book preview assignment. You need to go get a copy of the book. The first thing you can read the document yourself to find out about the assignment, but what I want you to do is to spend a little bit of time before you even do a magazine read. I want you to get the book, and I want you to flip through it and take a look at it and get familiar with it, and spend a half an hour or however much time it grabs your attention flipping through it, not to read, not to study, but just take a look at some of the pictures, the cartoons, the funny things, the demonstrations, the visual illusions that are in here. Get to know the book. See take note of what the author has done to help you. Notice that there's study guides at the end of every chapter. There's a wonderful thing. There's a built-in study guide. key terms are identified there. There's some key term exercises, some more practice questions if my take-home quizzes aren't enough for you, and there's more that you can do right here. Answers to some of the self-check questions that were throughout the textbook. Okay, so the chapter is rife with helpful, useful things. Notice at the very beginning of a chapter, there's a page that all of us skip when we're reading textbooks. There's an outline. Okay, it takes the topic of the chapter and it divides it up into, excuse me, divides it up into 3, 4, or 5, perhaps at the most, little chunks. Okay, and students are often asking me, you know, there's so much material in a chapter. What's important? What's the most important stuff in the chapter? If you look back at the outline, the size of the heading that tells you how important the topic is. The bigger the heading, the more important the topic. The smaller the heading, the lesser important it probably is. And that's followed through in the chapter. The bigger the heading, the more important the topic. And then there's always smaller headings, and that's probably a smaller subcomponent. And then there's terms, and there's also, they're pulled off to the side and defined there. So you have a running sort of glossary of things that are included. And as I said, there's section summaries along the way. So after you finish that first section, there'll be a small summary. You know, pay attention to these things. They're very useful. There will be concept checks. You know, you can check and you can see if you can't answer those questions right after you just finished reading it. Why do you think you're going to be able to answer it on a test day? So pay attention to those. Okay, so when you are done with that, you can submit that, and you'll be done with this first module here. So that was all within the introductions folder. There was that folder I was telling you about, the research experience requirement. If you go in there, there's a video and some documents that tell you much more, everything you need to know about the research experience requirement, the 4 credits that you must earn before the last day of classes. The last day before finals. Okay, you are expected to have completed those 4 credits. Okay, and then you can get started on the chapters. So when you click inside of these chapter modules, there will be typically a PowerPoint that you can go through, and it may or may not include narration by me or someone else. There will usually be some videos that I will steer you to go watch, sometimes on YouTube, sometimes that you download here. Sometimes there will be some discussion questions centered around some of these things. Anyway, anything related to each chapter concept and topic will be contained within each chapter folder, okay? And including the quiz. When it's time to, you know, there will, when you're, and I'm not going to open things up for sometimes students will ask me, well, you know, I noticed chapter 2 doesn't have, in chapter 3 and 4, they don't have quizzes. You know, I'd like to work ahead. I want to get ahead. I'm not likely going to do that. I'm going to treat this like we do an in-class class where we proceed through on a weekly basis, okay? So you will have to, I'm expecting that you do the course in that kind of weekly fashion. I don't want you to plow through and feel like, well, I want to finish this course, you know, in a couple of weeks, okay? It's not designed to work that way. So we will go through a week at a time. And so the quizzes are only going to be available as we proceed through. Okay, if you need to have exceptions to that, you need to contact me, and perhaps we'll be able to work things around your schedule if you must be away, or, you know, away from ability to do this course on the internet for some extended, you know, week or 2. So otherwise, I'm expecting that we're going to go through about a week at a time. Okay, so there's enough to get you started with the syllabus. If you have any questions, by all means, hit me up via email, phone call, or if you're local, pop in. All right. Thank you. Good luck. Enjoy.